Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is the Integration Designer 11 presentation for our distributor partners. We appreciate everybody who is part of the RTI family, everyone who helps integrators worldwide delight their clients with RTI solutions. Hardware and the cool gadgets get a lot of the attention, but today we're talking about software, which is a vital part of the RTI experience for smart homes and intelligent businesses. First, though, a few important updates and reminders. Now, regarding inventory, over the last 2 years, RTI has been over 99% in stock. Hats off to the RTI product and logistics team for delivering in this challenging environment. We have matrix video switchers in stock. We have video over IP in stock. And of course, control and automation solutions in stock. Now, RTI is in a very strong position, and we have an even stronger opportunity in the market. We are a full-line manufacturer of control and automation solutions, serving residential and commercial markets, and doing so better than I'd say anybody else in the market. For integrators who are new to RTI or not yet doing business with the RTI, it's important for them to know we are much more than a remote control line. And with the new Integration Designer 11, we are elevating the opportunity for every dealer. Let's dive in and take a look. Now, at a super high level, Integration Designer adds an easy-to-program template that delivers a beautiful user experience to every project without sacrificing any of the advanced customization for which RTI is known worldwide. And it starts with a stunning interface. We call it Coral. Coral comes pre-configured with home pages. But more than that, we have simplified programming with the all-new System Manager. Now, Vincent's going to talk a lot about this when he does the demo. We've got improved graphics, backgrounds, sliders, and fonts, all making it easier than ever to deliver a beautiful result. And the integrated driver store saves time and makes sure integrators are always working with the current drivers. No longer do they need to bounce off to a driver store, download a driver, bring it back into the software. It's all there directly within Integration Designer 11. Now we've added popular device pages. Now what is this? So think of your Sonos or your Apple TV. When you bring them into Integration Designer 11, we're going to pre-populate a page that's going to look great right out of the box. All this is available in a single platform for every one of your dealer's projects. Again, residential, commercial, small to large. The result is the fastest custom installation ever. And we emphasize custom because no one does custom like RTI. So let's take a look at where we are and what's coming up. We had a remarkably successful beta. And normally companies don't talk about their successful beta, but what was particularly cool here was the great feedback we got from integrators, a lot of it which then we incorporated into the release that is now on the website. And again, available on the dealer's site now. We've also updated the apps, the RTI panel app in the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, webinars like the one we're on now, and the ones we're hosting daily for integrators to learn more about Integration Designer. And coming soon, new training modules on RTI Excel, our online learning platform. So what happens next? Okay, for existing dealers, they can update their Integration Designer 10.14, that's Apex, immediately into ID 11. All Apex projects can open and be managed in Integration Designer 11. Now, dealers can keep access for all their existing projects, but it also represents an upsell opportunity. So think about it. With the new template, the beautiful new UI, dealers can take this to their customers and basically sell them upgraded systems. How about for new dealers? This is the opportunity for you, our distributor partners, to talk with integrators who are not yet using RTI. Integration Designer 11 opens up a whole new selling opportunity. Dealers want power, dealers want flexibility. RTI and Integration Designer 11 deliver both, and we think better than anybody else. So what should you do? Mention Integration Designer to all of your RTI dealers. That's what we're doing as well. It's going to improve their control experience. It's one product, one platform, from single room to large projects, residential to commercial. For new dealers, introduce RTI to these new dealers, and don't hesitate bringing your RTI sales manager to help close the business and start the relationship. Okay, we've got some marketing materials out there. Now, the invitation email that most of you clicked on to get to this webinar included a download link for some digital assets. We'll send that out again. Digital signage, counter card graphic, an email header. We've had requests for email footer. That will be coming shortly as well. And we've also updated all the product images on the RTI website. We'll be sharing those out as well, so that you can always present the most current RTI available. We've already generated lots of press, making Integration Designer 11's presence felt worldwide. Essential install in the UK, Residential Tech Today, Resi Systems, CE Pro, Connected in Australia. Residential Systems even ran a RTI case study on the same issue that they put out our press about Integration Designer 11, helping secure the message that RTI delivers worldwide. This one was a project in downtown Manhattan in New York. Absolutely stunning project. And we do thank all of our integration partners who bring these projects to us, because we love to write this stuff up. It helps everyone sell more RTI systems. But perhaps the best thing is the quote we got from one of our beta testers. I'm just going to read it for you because I love reading it. Integration Designer 11 is the absolute best of all worlds in programming software. No other platform has a complete do-it-for-me capability and the ability to customize every aspect of the interface and control in a single package. With ID 11, the answer to every situation and client request is yes. This is basically the ID 11 value proposition. This is what we set out to do. This is what we've done. And this is what Vincent Bova is going to share with you in just a few minutes. Okay, let me stop sharing and it's all yours.
Okay, thanks so much, Bill. That was wonderful. Oh, hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be introducing you to the next generation of software in the RTI family. This is Integration Designer 11. It contains some groundbreaking features that, quite frankly, are going to change the way RTI dealers program and hopefully impact their lives positively. We now have an express lane for RTI dealers that need a faster programming software. We have added a system manager, which is the intelligence that RTI dealers have been asking for a long time now. And that basically just tracks different states in the system. And this no Coral template, which isn't just a template, it's laid out professionally and auto-programmed, so there's very little for the installer to do. So I'm going to break out of my video here, which is demonstrating the way Coral looks and flows, and I'm going to pop into an Integration Designer interface. So I'm going to continue talking about Coral and how it saves time for our dealers. Coral's template does everything for you, as I indicated. Again, lays out things professionally, but everything is programmed that you see here. All these page jumps, things that pop up, rooms, sources, and power menus are programmed. All this feedback that shows the room name and the time and date, and everything you see is programmed here for you. There's very little for you to do as an installer, which is what we've been shooting for here. Now, there's two lanes that we really are going to talk about in the software. One is the express lane, and one is the less express lane, okay? Because both ways are very quick, and we've made them really powerful. You're looking at list menus on the screen, and what you see here are lists that are automatically generated based on the rooms or activities that you have in that room. So if you add an activity, automatically gets populated in the list, no work required. If you add a room, gets into that list. We also have a really cool power off menu that allows you to turn off the power in the room or in the home. So we have everything covered and everything is programmed here. So let's show you how you add these menu types. If I go to my add workspace, this is where you add all your building blocks. I'm going to go to my controllers and I'm going to add another iPad. And I'm going to call this Bill's iPad. Now, with every controller, especially the larger ones, you get to choose between list menus and button menus. List menus are what I just showed you. They're automatically generated lists that have all your rooms and activities. Button menus are when you want to get a little more custom. That will create buttons for you in a baseline template that you would be responsible for filling in with icons and some text. But still, the process remains easy. We'll talk about that in a minute. You also have the ability, if choosing either menu, to add a certain type of dashboard. Yes, in our software, we do have dashboard types. In this one, I'm going to create a lights and climate dashboard so you can see some differences in the interfaces. And then I'm going to show you some of these dashboards. On our KA11, we use the now playing dashboard, and you'll always have a weather interface. All the installer has to do is tell this layer or this area of the screen how to get its information. So you can aim this at any source device that's playing music or even video. So I'm going to go to my now playing layer, go into its properties, and I'm just going to aim it at the RTI music player. And you'll see all the information fill in. That's really the extent of what an installer has to do inside the template. It really is programmed for you perfectly. Let's take a look at the other dashboard. And that one is the lights and climate dashboard. Now, totally different flavor. Now you have the ability to have some quick lighting scenes or some climate. Now, what I recommend if the installer doesn't have lights in the system, to remove the light button here and program these with just regular house scenes that don't have to do with lighting. Maybe this will play the music for dinner, so I can make this dinner music. And it'll play music at a certain level, and maybe a certain type of music at a certain time of day. And you can make these scenes custom to how you want the interface to work if you don't have lighting in your system. So these are multi-dimensional. You can use them for a variety of reasons. This one, you would just aim at your climate source, just like you did the now playing. So these dashboards are really friendly, and they're really going to spice up the interfaces by giving someone more than just something that controls stuff. All right, so those are the dashboards. Now, when you're building controllers and you're using the list menus, which we highly recommend, you're going to be able to actually select a controller and determine what rooms appear in those menus. So you have full control. So if you're programming a kid's controller and you don't want them to see them or control the master bedroom, you could just remove it from the certain controller. So you have the ability to remove rooms from the list selections. I'm going to go and add a button menu one just to show you what they look like, just for your reference, so you understand how it works and how it programs. I'll add an iPhone in this case, and we'll call this Greg's iPhone. Now, in this drop-down here, I'll select the button menus, and I'll show you intercom and security since we haven't seen those yet. And I'll add that device. Once the device is added, all the work is done for you. You really don't have anything left to do. Here's your dashboard with your intercom and security quick settings. And here's your button menu here. Now, the button menu, even though it has to be customized with an icon, it's real simple to do. You drag and drop the icon, and we've now revolutionized the way we program our remote controls now. Gone are the days where you have to program macros on the controller buttons and then move on to the next controller and program on those buttons, and then move on to the next controller and program on those buttons. Now, thanks to the system manager and activity events, it all gets to be done in one place. And the beauty of that is that not only will it allow you to program all the macros for your controller, all your controllers in one spot, but if you add another controller after the fact, it's already programmed. You don't need to do a thing. Also, there is a tracking system in System Manager, which we'll speak about. Let's go to the family room and program some of these macros. I'm going to select activities, And here you see a very important piece of the system manager, the ability to program and customize what's in that list menu. So I'm going to start from the left side where it says enable. This allows you to enable or remove activities from the list menu. So here you'll see there's a zone 1 video for the matrix switch. We don't need to see that in the list, so we'll uncheck that and it'll go to the bottom. Now we can also remove the smart TV since we're not using smart TV functions. So you get to remove items from the list. You also get to change the order. For example, I don't want weather to be the first thing I see in the list, so I'm going to use these move up and down buttons here to move it down to the bottom of my available sources. I want to do my homepage jump to that dashboard all the way to the top. And I'm going to activate the Apple TV activity, and I'm going to move that up as well over my audio source. So now this looks like I like it. The room and source columns, those are just informational. They show you where the room and source are. The activity name allows you to actually customize the name of the activities in the list menus. Now, sometimes your devices can have some really weird names based on when you add them to the system space. So you can control what they're actually called and are shown to the client. For example, Blu-ray can say, watch Blu-ray instead, much more user-friendly. Cable TV can say, watch cable TV. And we'll make Roku player watch Roku. Apple TV will be watch Apple TV. And the RTI music can be listen to music. So we've made this a lot more user-friendly in just a minute or two. And we've were able to fully customize the list menu. Now I'm going to show you how to actually program the list menu so that it will work on all your controllers, not just a single controller. So I select the Blu-ray, and now you're going to see your events. And there's different events based on the different sources. So there's selection events. These happen when you select the activity. And there's deselection events that will happen when you either power off the system or select another activity other than the Blu-ray. One more thing which I failed to mention, these activities can also be classified as a video activity, an audio activity, or an other type of an activity. Another type of activity would be a lighting page or a climate page or a home page. They don't need to turn on audio or video. It's very important that you classify these properly, and the Coral and ID11 will do a great job of doing that for you. So now that you have these classified, you're now going to program the macro. So the first selection event happens when the activity starts. Fortunately, there's some text on the bottom of the screen here that will allow the person who's learning the software a very easy instruction. And you'll see that it says, this is run whenever any activity is selected before anything else is done. And it's usually used for the please wait page. So if you have a please wait page, you'll add it here. If you don't, you can skip it. I happen to have a please wait page, so I'll go to my page link command here, and I'll add a please wait page to my activity start. There's my please wait. So now I've programmed my first step. Let's move on to room on, which is the next step in the sequence. It says this macro is run when any audio or video source is selected and the room is currently off. So think about it. We press watch Blu-ray and the room is off. The room on will run. It also goes on to say that you don't have to program this unless you have a device that shares both audio and video tasks. In this room, I have to turn on my receiver whether I'm listening to music or I'm watching video. So that will be my room on function. It always has to turn on a receiver, which is common between my audio and video. So I'm going to go to my command here, and I'm going to select my receiver, and I'm going to turn it on with the power on command. That was easy. Okay. Now video on is the next step. And it says this macro is run when a video source is selected and the room is not currently on a video source. So maybe you're coming from a power off state, or maybe you're coming from an audio source. So this is where you turn on video specific equipment, displays, projectors, anything that pertains to video. So we happen to have a TV in this room. So here's where I'm going to go and turn on my Samsung TV in the family room. Okay. Again, this is all spelled out perfectly for the user. Power on source. This macro is run when the first room in the system begins using this source. So here's where we're going to turn on the Blu-ray player. Now, this lingo is really important because it shows you the power of System Manager. In a situation where you're sharing a source like this Blu-ray, using a matrix switch, which we are in this system, in multiple rooms in the house, it knows if this device is on or off, if it's been turned on in another room or even in this room. And power on source will turn on that device if it needs to. So here's where we populate our Blu-ray power command. So I'm bringing in my command, I'm selecting my Blu-ray, and I'm selecting my power on function. Next, I'm ready to do my activity selected step, which is for signal routing. And it says this macro is run to configure the equipment in the room to use this source. At this point, all the on macros have been run. The room turns on, turning on the receiver. The video on runs, it turns on the TV. And the source turns on, and now it does the switching required. So I happen to have a matrix switch which needs to switch. So I'll select my matrix. I'll select my family room Blu-ray. I also have a receiver that needs to switch. So I'll select my Yamaha receiver. I'll select my receiver discrete sources. So let's find this in the list. Should be right here. And I'm going to select HDMI 1. And while I'm here, I'm also going to go and grab a command for the television, which also needs to switch to the proper input. And we'll make that one HDMI 1. So that's where you do the signal routing. Now your activity is ready on the next one, and this is automatically programmed with a page link to the device you're controlling. So let's recap how this works. The selection events start when you select the Blu-ray. Activity start will jump to the please wait page. The room on will run if the room hasn't been turned on before, if an audio or video device hasn't been used. And since this shares a common, the audio and video share a common device, the receiver, it turns on the receiver. Then the video on will run if video hasn't been used yet. Since we're coming from a power off state, it needs to turn on the family room TV. Power on source will turn on that source device after everything else has been turned on. Then it will do the switching required to calibrate that activity, and then jump to the activity with the activity ready. So, and the beauty of this is that everything is tracked for you because we specified it's a video source versus an audio source. It knows if the room is on, if the video in the room is on, if this source is on, and if it's selected. So let's look at the deselection events. Now, activities not only have a selection event, which is used when you press that activity, but they also have deselection events. What do you do when you press another activity? So I'm watching my Blu-ray and I either power off the system or I select something else. So let's start with the room off start. Now the room off start is basically used for power off commands or room off commands. And what this will do is send the controller to a please wait page, if you have one, before it runs the power off sequences. So now I happen to have the please wait page. I programmed it for my activity macros. So let's program it for the room off command. Okay. Now, the next one is activity deselected. And it says this macro is run after another source is selected or you turn off the system. So if you're watching the Blu-ray and then you select watch cable, this will run the activity deselected. Now, if you can think of something to use here, great, because it does say you will rarely need to add anything here. However, I have an idea. When I go and sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I want to go and get a sports score on a game on my cable box. So if I jump from a movie to my cable, I might want my Blu-ray to pause. This is a perfect opportunity to bring a pause command in here for my Blu-ray. So I'm going to pause my Blu-ray either when I select another source or when I turn off the system. Now then my Blu-ray will turn off if I'm turning off the system. So that's just the inverse of power on. One of the power tips we give our dealers is to copy the macro from the power on into the power off and then just change the command. Oops. I might have programmed the power on here. There we go. All right, so power off source, that will run when the source needs to turn off, when the last room is finished using it. Video off is run when the video is no longer in use because either an audio source was selected or the room was turned off. So this is where the TV has to turn off. Now, if you want to turn off your TV when you select an audio device or if you turn off the system, you have to program it here. So I'm going to go and bring in a command, or I can just copy the video on command and save myself some time. And this is where I turn off my TV. And then room off is going to be run when the room is turned off. Since room on is going to turn on my receiver, and I'll copy that, room off is going to turn off my receiver. So I'll change this to off. When the room off sequence is complete on my power off button for my room, it's going to automatically jump my global controller to the home page if it's a multi-room controller. And if my controller is a individual room controller, it's going to jump to the home page in that room. Then it will show the activity menu automatically so that our power menu is not lingering the next time we pick up the remote to use. That's all you have to do here. Now, the beauty of this is also the fact that a lot of these you don't have to program for the next step. So if I move on to the cable box, and I'm not going to program this in entirety, you can see that activity start is already knows what to do. It knows what to do when the family room is turned on. It knows what to do when the video in the family room is turned on. Power on source you'll program. And even if you have a power toggle, you can put a power toggle in this step because it will only send in the command when it needs to. It knows if the cable box is on or not. So there's no need to ever worry about using a power toggle unless there's a power outage. And that would be just a matter of turning off the system and then turning it on again. So we could power toggle the cable box. Activity selected is where we do the routing. Ready is programmed. Room off starts programmed. Deselected is rarely used. Power off source will turn off the cable box the same way we toggled it on. We can toggle it off. So we can go to the power on source here, copy this into the power off source and toggle it off. Video off is already programmed. It knows what to do in the family room, and room off is already programmed and it knows what to do when room off is complete. So this is quite easy. And here's the benefit. If I were to go and program this and add several other controllers, the family room is already programmed. Those controllers would already be programmed, even if they were button menus. The only thing you would have to do is customize the button menus and then program a command to run this macro through System Manager. It's real simple. So no more programming on buttons on individual controllers. Okay, let's take a look at the integrated driver store. So I'm going to go to my driver area here. And now I can enjoy integrated drivers. No need to download drivers anymore from the RTI website. All of the RTI certified drivers will be here. And the best part is if you select one of them, you'll be able to access the information without entering it into the system. And you can enter the driver store, which was composed just for APEC for ID11. And you have the ability to read the tech notes, or you could browse through other drivers. So really happy about that. And that's still going to even evolve even more. Another great feature of the integrated driver store is that if there are drivers on your system in your project that are out of date, it will alert you. So not only is this a time-saving feature because you don't have to download drivers anymore, but now you don't have to wrestle with drivers that aren't updated and try to guess what needs an update or not. So a huge time saver. It's going to reduce tech support calls, and it's always going to ensure that people know to update drivers when they need to be updated. So that's our integrated driver store, which we're quite happy with. There's another feature also. We're going to be adding third-party drivers in the future, but currently, if you select the user area, you can download drivers as you normally would have, and you can put in third-party drivers or any utility drivers that are not RTI certified. So you have the best of both worlds. Okay, let's look at some other little cool features. So now the whole idea of this software is that it wants to build for you without you doing anything. Everything is all laid out in program. And we've given you a weather driver automatically now with this system. So now you'll get a weather driver that's programmed with all of your devices automatically. All you need to do is go and enter in your zip code, city, country, or latitude or longitude into the weather driver settings. So it knows where to get your weather from. And that's going to be a huge time saver. We've also integrated the features of the clock driver into ID11. So now you don't have to download a clock driver if you want to provide time and date information. If you notice here, all of this is programmed for you. I'm going to just unlock this stuff. All of this is automatically programmed for you. There's no need to add a clock driver and then program your time and date information. So it's built into System Manager that at least the clock and time variables are. So an amazing feature that dealers are absolutely going to love. Another subtle but excellent feature we've added is the ability to map page layouts for non-optimized drivers. Now, in the past, if you added a driver that was non-optimized for Apex, and it wouldn't create any pages for the software. For example, a Lutron Cassetta driver, it's not optimized for the software. And in the past, if I added this driver to the system, it wouldn't populate any pages. Now, if you add a non-optimized driver, it will allow you to select a page set or at least a template page from this list here. So obviously we'll select lighting, but this will exist for any device that doesn't have necessarily a page attached to it. So now if you want to create pages for certain devices, you're able to pick the template you want. And we'll add that Lutron device to our system. And now if we select the Lutron device, we're going to find that the pages are already created on all of our controllers in the system. And now we have all of our Lutron pages populated and programmed. Okay, and we'll get back to Lutron because we're going to show you some other cool features with that as well. So we wanted to improve efficiency for our dealers, and we've done that in so many ways. Here's another great way we've added that efficiency. In the past, when you configured your system properties for your project under File, System Properties, you would have to tell the project what your location was and where you were located, what time zone. Now, we've also added, in addition to that, you'll set that, and we've also added a Wi-Fi network 802.11 tab. You can put in your Wi-Fi information in here. And the beauty of these settings is that once you set them in the system properties, these will filter down to the rest of the controllers that use them. Let's take a look at how that works. Now, if I go to my T4X, in the past, in the properties for my T4X, I'd have to go and tell it where I'm located again. Now it will get its information from the system properties, and even the Wi-Fi will be populated in all the controllers that can use Wi-Fi. Now, of course, you could uncheck this and do whatever you want. Maybe you have a different Wi-Fi network for certain controllers because maybe they're in a different area of the home. But you now don't have to go and enter in these features redundantly, such as the clock and location and things like that. So that's a fabulous feature that's going to also incrementally change, save some time. All right, now we're going to move on to one of my favorite features, backgrounds. Now, I love our deep sea background, as it's called in Coral. It's a beautiful background, but sometimes you want to blend your backgrounds to a home's decor, or just for what a client's tastes are. So in the past, you had to drag and drop a background to each of these pages. And if you have a large system, this could be quite tedious. Dealers have asked for this feature a long time, but they want to be able to globally change a background. Now we have the ability. Let's show you how it's done. I'm going to go to my bitmaps, and I'm going to go to my backgrounds for Coral. So we've given you lots of different assets for Coral here. In addition is backgrounds. Now, while we're here, I'll show you another quick feature. You know, in looking for a background for this KA11, it's difficult to weed through all these different resolutions and screen sizes. So we've given you a filter button now that will filter out any images that don't match the screen size you're looking for. I'm looking for a KA11 landscape. These are all my KA11 landscapes. And if I flip my orientation on my KA11 to portrait, this will change the portrait. Pretty amazing and time saving. So I wanted to show you that feature. All right, back to backgrounds. Right click on any area of the screen outside of a button area and click page properties. Now there's two different options you're going to see here. Use default background and use custom background. Now the default background, if you see this check, this will show you what the default background is. And that's what we use throughout the system. So as long as use default background is checked on a page, if you drag a new background over to it, it will change that background throughout the system. So let's bring in our purple background for RTI. And now let's watch as this globally changes across the board. So no need to go and drag and drop to all the different pages in your system. Now, we do realize that dealers might want to change certain pages. So we give them that ability. Maybe you want to change your please wait page back to that deep sea background. So now you'll go to your page properties and you'll select use custom background. And now if you click OK, now you'll go and you'll select your deep sea from the list here and drag it in. And this will change here, but not on the rest of the pages. So now you have a different background for your please wait, which contrasts your regular template. So that's an amazing time-saving feature that RTI dealers have been asking for a long time, with the combined ability to filter out images based on the screen size that you're looking for. We've also changed, and well, I should say we added a lot of different fonts now to all of our different controllers. And now you'll notice and enjoy different fonts now. And we've added an abundance of these to our RTI panels and most of our RTI controllers. So now dealers will be able to give their interfaces a different look simply by changing some of the font sizes and fonts. We've also added bigger font ranges. Now you can go from a 6-point font to a 200-point font, which was impossible to do before. So now we've given you more versatility with creating different fonts and having them appear in sizes that can really be used for lots of different applications. So new fonts and font sizes, most people will love. All right, let's head to one of my favorite features, and I have a lot of favorite features. one of the things that dealers wanted for a very long time is the ability to have resizable and scalable sliders and gauges that they can create also by themselves. And we've given you that ability. Now on an interface, you can grab the frame handles of a slider or gauge if it lives in the Coral template, and you can resize these to any size you like. So I can go to my Coral elements, which is where some of these objects are, and I could look for a slider. You can see we've given you a vast, a big amount of sliders that have different colors, and you can drag and drop these onto the old sliders and change the look of your interface quickly. In addition, these are all resizable. Watch what happens when I drag a black slider onto the system. Not only can I change these horizontally, but I could also change these vertically as well. So I can just, by the touch of a button, I can make these vertical or horizontal sliders and resize them to any size I want. The same would go for gauges as well. So if you're using gauges, you'll be able to drag these in and basically just make these any size you want. These are great for lighting, progress bars, volume, treble, and so on. Great feature, something that RTI dealers have been asking for forever. To finish up, I'm going to show you some of the variables that are available to the users when they track the features of the system manager. As I said before, the system manager knows exactly what's going on at any given moment. It can track, it keeps track of important information such as rooms, activity sources, and their states. And it uses this data to determine which pages and layers to show, which macros to run, and informational purposes as well. For example, clients can now see what's in use before selecting an activity. Maybe if they select cable, they'll know that someone's already watching that cable in another room. So let's show you some of these features. We'll use the layer window. I'm just going to go to my ellipses here, and I'm going to select the system manager, which will show me some of the variables that we have available here. So on a room level, we have many different variables. One of the variables will tell us when the source return is visible. That means that you've jumped from an audio or video source to an other type of source. So you were watching Blu-ray, and now you jump to lighting or a home page. And now you can use this variable to pop up different images, like maybe a back button, to get them back to their source device without having to reselect it from the activity menu. You also have the current source that's currently selected as well. You can tell if the room is on, if the room is off, if audio is on, if audio is off, or if video is on or off in any given room. Now, you also can track what source is currently selected. Is the home page selected? Is the home page not selected? If I'm on the home page is selected. And now if I jump to the lighting page, the home page is not selected, but the lighting page is selected. So these selected buttons you can use to create system variable tests, which allow you to ask devices questions based on the state and perform certain functions. For example, if RTI music is selected, change it to a certain scene based on music. You get the idea. So these are available for each of the different rooms in your project. We also have the selected room, and a lot of people know that from the old room proxy in Apex. So now we track what room you're in. Are you in the family room, kitchen, and master bedroom? And the great part about room proxy, the old room proxy, which is now folded into System Manager, is that the selected room function allows you to select a room and now have a button perform different tasks based on what room you selected. So you have all that functionality now rolled into System Manager for selected room. Here's another big one, and one that I absolutely love, and a lot of people have been asking for this forever. This also tracks what rooms are in use. Now, in use is different than selected. So for example, if I'm watching an audio or video source and I jump to another source, it will retain the device that was in use. So here's an example. If I'm watching a Blu-ray, my Blu-ray is selected. If I go from my Blu-ray to my homepage is selected. Now, in a different turn, if I am in my Blu-ray and I go to my homepage, my Blu-ray is in use. If I jump now to my lighting page while I'm still in the Blu-ray, my Blu-ray is still in use. So if you jump from a audio or video source to another source, it will retain the source that's in use. We also have layer visibility functions. These allow that room, sources, and power menu to independently show when you select those buttons on top. So using these layers here, well, this is automatically programmed for you, but you could build your own templates based on the same functionality, or enhance some of your templates based on the same functionality. And like I said, you also have the date and time functions rolled into System Manager. Here you'll just see the AM PM flag because I'm only showing visible state variables, but you'll have all of the different time and date system variables as well. So really great, popular thing. You also might see some additional macro steps that we'll go over mostly in our trainings. These are going to be the select activity function now. So instead of programming a activity on a button now, so for this scene here, I'll show you how it works. If I bring in this command here, select activity, I can run any activity from the current room or hardcoder room in here, and I could select an activity. And instead of programming all the macro steps for that activity on this button, it will run the System Manager events. So it can effectively track what to send, what not to send, and in essence, what's going on in the system. So some incredible time savings. We have that express lane in the software and list menus, a ton of different functions that RTI dealers have been asking for forever. We've really changed the way RTI does things, and dealers are going to really get a breath of fresh air being able to get in and out of projects much quicker and having the power of just about any control system in RTI. So we're really proud to be here. Thank you so much for attending. I'm happy to sit around and answer any questions that you may have. And thanks for coming.